Hi everyone, welcome back to Earl Grey Books. I'm Ellie. Today it is time for my January mid-month wrap up. First up, I want to apologise if you can hear Perse in the background or see him. He is sitting on my desk where I'm filming and now I have to move things because otherwise he's going to chew on them. Okay, now he's leaving. Anyway, so I didn't even need to give you that apology. Thanks, Perse. Anyway, let's get into the wrap up. I'm going to try and do these wrap ups a little, and emphasis on little, different in 2021. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what the books are about. I know lots of people do this in their wrap ups and hauls. And I don't usually because I often don't like knowing in hauls what the book is about, and I don't want to spoil anything in wrap-ups. And also I have the memory of a goldfish, and I just often can't remember things. So I'm going to try and get better at that this year, and that sort of thing. And I think that was, you'll see other changes. There are going to be video chapters and timestamps in the description if you are interested in having a sneak peek at the look at the books I'm going to be talking about. And then if there's a particular one that you're interested in or one that you're not, you can skip ahead and all that sort of good stuff. Let's get into it. I've read 10 books so far this year, and one of those was a reread, one was a DNF, and we're just gonna get into it. Here we go. So, first one I read for the year was A Rake's Vow by Stephanie Laurens. This is book 2 in the Sinster series, and so this one follows what's his name? Vane? Yes, Vane Sinster, who's one of the Sinster cousins, and see what I mean? I'm really bad with names. Oh, her name is Patience Devington, which for some reason just makes me laugh every time. Historical romance, pretty standard thing there, I guess. And these ones also usually have a bit of a mystery to them. So this one, there is Vane goes to this country house that Patience is at, and there are things going missing, and there's this kind of like ghost apparition thing, and he is sort of there to help the owner of this house kind of work out what the hell is happening. And there is something hanging from my roof that I have not noticed until this very moment. Yes, so really enjoyed this. Gave it 4 stars. I like this series, and I'm going to talk more about it in a minute. Okay, next up was my DNF. 2 books into the year, it was going great. And that is The Blind Assassin by Margaret Atwood. And if you've been here for a while, this might surprise you because I love Atwood and I rave about her all the time and blah 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 blah. This one was just boring, and it's humongous. I think I got about 160 pages into it. Yeah, like up to like part 4, and I was just like, yeah, I'm done. So this kind of has 2 different narratives. So one of them is following these 2 sisters, kind of Laura and Iris. So it's like 50 years after Laura's death, and Iris is kind of looking back on it and her life and all that sort of thing. And the other half is this like novel story in which there are 2 unnamed characters, a man and a woman, and the man is telling the woman a story. They're having an affair. I think it's supposed to be like a movie plot. And that was about as far as I got, so I couldn't really tell you anymore. But yeah, I was just bored. I really like those parts with the two unnamed characters. They were interesting. But the part with Iris is just like, I don't know, like a 70-year-old, 80-year-old woman talking about stuff, and I was just like, yeah, this is not the thing I wanted. So, DNF'd. Next up, I thought I would jump into some art books because I have a lot of them. Talked very briefly about a few of them in during Vlogmas in a video. I did this because this is all my art books back here. Yes, and yeah, I read one of them. This is The Artist's Joke, which is edited by Jennifer Higgy. I bought this one last year in like April or so, and it's just like a bunch of essays about art, and it's supposed to be about comedy, but I don't know. I didn't really find that. I really liked some of the essays, but yeah, where it had to do with like comedy and jokes, some of them were a little bit like, oh, okay, I do not see the connection. There's also really randomly an essay from Sigmund Freud in here, and I'm like, I don't really know why that's in here. It's not really about art or anything, but gave this one 3 stars because yeah, there were some essays in here that I really liked, but the majority of it was like, I'm not seeing the connection between these essays at all. Library book. This is Dreams They Forgot by Emma Ashmere. I've talked about this one recently as well. I did a video again in Vlogmas talking about the Aussie releases from 2020 that I had originally selected, and what of those that I'd read, and then I got this one from the library like 2 days later. Read it. This is a bunch of short stories, so they're all quite different, and there isn't really a theme. I liked some of these, didn't like others. Pretty standard short story related thoughts and emotions for me. Gave this one 3 stars. Yeah. Back to The Sinsters. I read Scandal's Bride, which is book 3. This one is a little bit different to the first 2 in that it doesn't really have a mystery element to it. Again, kind of standard historical romance tropes and things like that. This is set in Scotland, and it follows Richard Sinster and Katrina Hennessy, who is this Lady of the Vale, and she's kind of like a witch, like wise woman, healer, herbs, that kind of witchcraft. The very sort of like Scottish kind in my mind, or Celtic, Gaelic, that sort of thing. So this one doesn't really have a mystery element to it, but it has that. That plays quite heavily into this, and I think that was maybe part of the reason that I didn't really enjoy it as much as the others. It's still a very good book, and I still gave it 4 stars, but it's a different 4 stars to A Rake's Vow. It was just because some of, like, there was almost too much of a heavy, what's the word I'm looking for, like, focus on the witch element without there actually, like, you don't really see her do that much of that kind of stuff, but like he constantly calls her like his witch and all this stuff, and yeah, didn't really care about that. Okay, then I read some ebooks, that's the word I'm looking for. So I read The Empress of Salt and Fortune and When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain, both by Nhi Vo. give the first one 3.5 and the second 4. This is like a novella series. It doesn't connect to another series or anything like that. It's just novellas. They are fantasy, and they've kind of got this tale, fable kind of aspect to them, in which in both the character is the main character that we follow is being told a story and slash is telling a story, and there are kind of interjections in there, and I really liked it. I liked the second one better. The first one was good, but the second one, the story in it, I just enjoyed a lot more, and I think was very different. It was very different to other fantasies, and I thought the first one was a little bit more your kind of like standard fantasy tropes and plot and that sort of thing. Okay, then back into the ones I have. This was a reread. This is The Magic Toy Shop by Angela Carter. I'm rereading this for a post which was meant to go up in a few days, but had to push it back because I didn't get to the books I needed to apart from this one. I read this in 2015. So I bought this while I was living in Cornwall, as well as one of her other books, and I read this one at that time and I didn't read the other, but that's a different point. Anyway, I really loved that when I read it the first time, and this time I just wasn't as impressed by it. I forgot how weird this is. Like I knew it was weird because it's Angela Carter, but it made me quite uncomfortable in points, and not in kind of like, I don't mind when books make me feel uncomfortable, because I think, what's that quote, something like, you don't grow if you're comfortable, or something like that. And, you don't learn things if you are comfortable with that thing and you already know that thing. But this was just more like, just weird. And just like stuff that I'm like, okay, if I ever feel comfortable with this stuff, like, yeah, it's probably not a mark of being a good person. And yeah, so I didn't really like the plot, but I do love the fact that you can really see that Carter has taken from a sort of wider literary history, in that you can see aspects of different stories in here that are sort of all brought together, and then she's put a little twist on it. So I am in awe of Angela Carter, as I always am, but less so with this particular book. 2 books here. Jumped back into some historical fiction, some historical romance, that's what I meant. Been trying to read through them. You'll see me talk about this again at length throughout the year. But I had a list for January. One of them was The Duchess Deal by Tessa Dare. I bought this one in Feb last year, and I had just been putting it off. But I read it mostly because I really wanted to see if I was going to like it, and if I did, I was going to buy the next ones in Feb. And I loved this. Gave it 4.5. Amazing. This follows... I just realized I didn't tell you anything about the Magic Toy Shop. Apologies. See, I'm trying to get better. It's gonna take a while. So this is about... I've forgotten what his first name is, but the Duke of Ashbury isn't... I guess it kind of doesn't really matter. But, and this girl, Emma, who is working as a seamstress, and she turns up one day in his library in a wedding dress, and they get married. As you do. And it goes from there, and they kind of have like these rules for their marriage, and then, not really a spoiler, but hey, they break them all because it wouldn't be a romance if they didn't. I really like this one. The main character, the hero, is also scarred, and I'm not usually into that. That always kind of makes me stressed because I have pretty prominent scars, and I'm like, I don't really like the whole, like, it's either like they're ruined or the scars are sexy, and I'm just like, they're just scars, like, that's it. And this kind of took both of those ideas, preconceptions, I don't really know what I would describe that as, and kind of like flipped them around a little bit and played with them, and I actually really enjoyed that. And I wasn't annoyed at all by the fact that he was scarred and the way that they talked about it. So that's a good thing. Really enjoyed it, and hoping to get my hands on the next one. I thought it would be really easy, and I was just going to get them from DimX in a couple of days' time when I am over in the city for something, which is the DimX in Melbourne has a really good romance section, but I checked and they don't have them, so I'm going to have to reevaluate how I'm going to get them. Anyway, you didn't really need to know that. Enjoyed it. Okay, and then the last one. This is The Lives of Saints by Leigh Bardugo. So this is like, I don't know what you'd really call these. Are they like fables or tales or like mythology sort of thing about different saints? But obviously they're all made up because they're from the Grishaverse. And I was trying to show you some of the illustrations, but some of them are kind of dark and I don't know how well. Oh, this is, no, it's not, that's not the one I was thinking. One of them I really, really love, and I don't know which one it is, but there are some stunning ones in there. This did come with like a little wrap around, not like a dust jacket, it was like a half one that probably told me who the illustrator was, but I got rid of it. So I instead put the name of the illustrator here because this is beautiful. So yes, loved all the illustrations. Would quite happily like have art prints of them and stick them everywhere. As for the actual stories, I really liked some of them and I thought they were really interesting, and others were just kind of boring. I'm not a stan of Leigh Bardugo or of the Grishaverse. Like, I really enjoy them, but I'm not like at that level that some people are. So these probably had more connections to the series that I just didn't remember because it's been a while, or that I just didn't connect in my brain because memory. Who has one? And yeah, so yeah, this was gorgeous. I also bought this one in January. So I broke my book buying ban, but we're going to talk about that in my haul at the end of the month, and why that's okay. So yes, really enjoyed this. Gave it 4 stars. Might reread this if I ever decide to reread the series. I don't really know. It's a possibility with the TV series coming out. So yes, that was the wrap up. A little bit longer than I probably wanted it to be, but I hope that you enjoyed it anyway. And I wanted to throw out a quick little announcement slash thing. I don't really know what this is. I'm doing a post about, or I'm trying to put a post together about the bookish community and different reactions to TBRs and that sort of thing. I have a little questionnaire. It's 4 questions. If you're interested in taking part, please message me. leave a comment, DM me on Twitter or Instagram, and I can have them sent to you and whatnot. It's not going up until like February or March at this point, so if you're stressed about time, you've got a decent amount of time. But yes, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. I think I'm doing a tag next. I'm trying to remember. I think that's what it is. I will see you all then. Bye.